Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to be creating another dashboard. This is part of the dashboard series. If you haven't watched any of those videos, I'll leave a link in the description box so you can go ahead and check it out. Today's video is about creating a lead tracker spreadsheet template. So if part of your job or your business involves tracking leads, this would be helpful for you. All right, so I will give you an overview of the template and then we'll get started with creating the entire template from scratch. We have a setup tab, which is something that I recommend if you're creating template for personal use or for someone else. Moving on to the next tab, this is the database tab. I intentionally create these database tabs to be very simple, and that's because we have a dedicated dashboard tab that's going to summarize everything. You could easily add summary charts and tables to this tab and that would be fine, but because we have a dedicated dashboard, it defeats the whole purpose of doing that. So we're keeping this very simple. It's a table, that's where all your information is going to go. And then finally we have the dashboard tab, which is where we started, and you can see all of the summary information that we have created here. So we have charts, we have graphs, and we have tables. All right, so I pulled in my checklist tab to keep us organized, and I'll check off the first item because we have done the template overview. Next, we're going to create a setup tab from scratch. So we're going to create this tab right here. All right, it's a very simple tab, but I'll show you how I did it. We start out with a new sheet. And with every new sheet that I create, I like to make global changes. And that means I select the entire template, change the alignment of the text, the style of the text to the one that I want to use, the font, and then I remove excess rows and columns. So this goes obviously all the way to Z and this goes down to 1,000. If I go back to my setup tab, I know I only need from A to O and from 1 to 20. So I'm just going to do that. Remove everything from P and beyond, delete that, and remove everything from 21 and beyond. Now you can leave more rows if you feel like your lists are going to be longer. So I'm only adding a few drop downs for this template. You can expand yours if your drop downs are going to be longer than mine. All right, then I'm just resizing the rows, selecting everything and changing it to 30. And then what I like to do is resize the first and the last column, make that 30 as well. All right, and then I'll put in the tables for the drop downs in here. So if we go back here, you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7 options for drop downs. I'll rename the sheet before I forget. So it'll be set up 2. All right, so then I'm going to select every other column because those are going to be gap columns as well, just like we did with the first and the last one. We're going to resize them. All right, so select all of them at once and resize them to 30. And then we can select our main columns. This is where we're going to put in our tables, resize those, and I think like 200 is fine. You can definitely make it wider if you need to. And then here's where the table is gonna go. So we can put an outline there, choose whatever border color you want. I like to use this third grayish color at the border and then add one more around the header area. So this is where the label title is gonna go. And then you can add whatever colors you want. And I will mention this, that when I add colors to Google Sheets, I don't add these colors. I always use custom colors. Now the difference is that if you use this color, every time you need to change this color, you have to manually change it to something else. But if you use these colors, you can automatically change all the colors in the template by just changing these colors. So if I were to apply the color here, all right, this green color right here, and then apply it as well right here, okay, just to show you as an example, right? So I have it here and here, and then I change my mind and I don't want to use this color now. I want it to be purple. All I need to do is change it here. Okay, I don't need to go here and change it. I could, but the easier, more efficient way would be to change it here. So once I do, this color changes to purple and this one as well changes to purple. So it makes the change every single place that I apply this color in this template. So it just makes it a lot easier. So that's what I'm going to use to apply colors. But as far as the specific colors, go ahead and select whatever colors you want to apply to your table. I will be selecting a color from this color palette. Select whatever color works for you. All right, I'll add some more colors to the background. And then I'm going to apply internal border. So I'm selecting the table area, just this part without the header. Go to the border. I'm going to use this lighter color and use the dashed option and horizontal borders. All right, so now you can see I have what looks like the table I have here. And then now I'm going to select the entire thing, including the header, use the paint format option and just apply it to this area. All right, and then the last step, of course, would be to remove this grid line. So go to view, show grid lines, and now we have our tables. So what I'm going to do for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to copy the entries. All right, I'm going to paste them in my sheets, but for you, I'll go over them so you can type in your own specific entries that work for your situation, or you can use placeholders, create a template, and then later on you can modify them. So the first table is for contact method, so how you're reaching out to your leads, lead source, lead status, priority, next action. This is industry, it could also be category, if you want. And then if you're working with other people, you can add their names here. So you have team members. That's all we have here. So I'm going to paste it here. I'm just pasting values only. All right. Again, this is just to save time, but go ahead and use my examples to create the templates if you just want to practice or you just want to make sure you're getting everything right. And then later on, you can replace the values with your own specific examples. All right, so the setup tab is basically done. So let's go back here and cross that off. Next, we're going to create the database table. Here's a table right here. I'll go over it and then we'll create it from scratch. All right, so we have number, date, lead contact name, name of the company for the lead, email address, phone number, address. All right, and then we have the drop downs here. All right, so the drop downs, these are going to come from our setup tab. So contact method, lead source, the industry, lead value, status priority assigned. So assigned to the person that it's been assigned to, last contact date, expected close date, next action, and notes. If I'm missing something that would make this template even better, let me know. Feel free to leave comments in the comment section, ways that we can improve it. And then what I can do at a later video is make a modification to the dashboard and make a video about the change. All right, so here's what we have. We're going to start out with another sheet. Okay, this would be our lead database 2. All right, and I'll clean it up like I always do. So I'm changing the font, the alignment of the text, and then I'm going to remove everything from you and beyond. So delete those columns, and I'm not going to delete any of the rows because it needs to be as long as possible. So I'll highlight all of them and just change the size to 30. All right, and back up here. I'll highlight the first column and the last one and make this 30 as well. And then here's where our header is going to go. Row 2. Add the header and then add the border around the rest of the table. So I'm just going to select this area all the way down using shortcut keys. And for Mac is Shift Command and the arrow key that points downwards. Add the outer borders, and I'm going to add internal borders as well. First, I'll do this horizontal border, change the color here and the style, and then it will apply that to just the horizontal borders. So now I can go back up and go ahead and add whatever color you want to your table. I will use one of these colors from my color palette here. Okay, and then let's go back to our example. Copy the headers. I'm just going to paste the header titles here, so values only. All right, so we have everything here. Now we're going to adjust the column width and then add our drop down. The first one is a number column. I'll just readjust this because it doesn't need to be that wide. Next one is a date column. I want to double click in that cell and I want the date picker option to show up. So this would be the data validation rule. So click on data validation, add rule. Now I want it to start from C3. So I did select the entire column. That's not necessary. So we can change this to C3. All right. So now it will omit these two. And the drop down criteria is going to be is valid date. So we're selecting that. And if you are creating this template for somebody else or to be shared, you can check this checkbox because it's going to show additional help text. Reject the input because we want it to be a specific date format. Click done. And now when we double click, we can select the dates. You can take this a step further, which is changing the format of how the dates appear. Go to formats and go to custom date and time. And you can choose how you want it to appear. I tend to like this abbreviated version of the month, the 2-digit date and the 4-digit year. So that's what I'm going to choose. Click apply. And here's what it looks like. Okay, so the next is a lead contact name. So we're going to make this wider. All right, so it fits the name. Then we have company name. So you can type this here as well. So these are general texts or number entries. They don't need a special formatting. So you should be able to type in information here. You don't need a drop down, except of course you work with only a fixed amount of companies. And then what you can do is create a drop down for the company. So it's easier to enter every single time. But if that doesn't apply, just keep this very simple. All right, create enough space for the entries. And let's move on to the next one. So the next is contact method. That is a drop down. And actually what I'm going to do is just resize these together for now, and we can always adjust them as necessary. So the first drop down is contact method. Okay, so we can select a few cells here, add rule, and we're going to remove the last row number because we wanted to select the entire range. And select drop down from range, click on select data range, go to our setup tab and select the first one. Okay, hit enter. And here's where you can change the style. All right, so right now this is the chip style. You can change it to arrow or plain text. For this template, I will keep it as the chip style. You could also change the colors if you want. Assign different colors to the different contact methods. I'll click done and repeat the same steps for the next one. So add role, remove the row number, drop down from range, select the icon. So you're able to select the range. All right, click OK, click done, and just repeat the same steps for the rest of them. All right, so I added all the drop downs. These two columns are date columns, so I'll select both of them at the same time. Add rule, readjust the range to start from 3, and change these to is valid date, just like we did before. Reject the input, and done. So now we can also select the dates here. Do the same thing we did before, change the formats to this date formats, so all looks the same. Okay, and then the last areas for notes, you can readjust the width to fit your specific needs, and you can extend the height of the rows if you want. Right now it's 30, but if you are going to use the wrap option and you have lots of notes, extend it to 35 or 40 so that you can see both lines of text. The last thing we're going to do is to add in information, and I will copy it from the example template to save time. You can choose to use placeholder information if you want, or start adding in your real information if this is something you are preparing for your work or your business. Back here, I'll use paste values only, and then add our filter. And to do this, just select the header, all right, and go to the top, look for the filter icon. It looks like a funnel. Click on that, and you might have to readjust some of the headers because it takes up a little bit of space from the column, so just readjust it if you need to. If for some reason the new entries don't get added automatically, you can remove the filter and just select the entire table all the way down and then apply the filter again. And I like to do this if for some reason the filters don't work with the new entries. I don't know, sometimes it does that. And the last step, of course, would be to remove the grid lines. We don't need it anymore. Back to our tutorial checklist. We're done with the lead database. Next, we're going to build the dashboard structure. Okay, so here's our dashboard. We'll start with a blank sheet. Remove columns after Q and after 32. All right, and I'm resizing the rows. Again, I'm just keeping things consistent and easy. So we're going to do 30, and A and Q also make that 30. All right, and rename this dashboard 2. Okay, let's go back to the example. We're going to work on this area first. This is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, and each section has 3 columns. Before we add that, let's go ahead and add in the column separators. So right here we have spacers between each section, so that would be 1, 2, 3 space, 1, 2, 3 space, 1, 2, 3 space, and then we have the last one already there. So resize this to be 30, and then we can resize these guys as well. Right now they are default column width of 100. We're going to resize them to 125. Now we can select these 4 rows to make the rectangle. So here we'll have our rectangle here. And if you notice, this is a little bit smaller, the first one. We're going to do the same thing for row number 2, resize it, make it 15. And then finally, select the entire range and add whatever background color you're using, or leave it blank, depends on what your preference is. All right. And then the text is going to go here, this area right here. And the formula is going to go here. So first merge this one. This is where the label is going to go, and merge this. This is where the formula is going to go. All right. And then now we can use paint format to save time and just dump it right here for the rest of them. All right, so now 4 of them are done, and I'm going to copy the text from here. So we have total leads, conversion rates, and converted lead value. Just copying that and paste values only. And I think I used a smaller size, so I'll decrease that. So it looks like this, and use this alignment down, this bottom alignment. All right, so it looks more like a label right above the number that's going to be here. And before I put in the formulas for the numbers, I'll change the formatting. So select the entire range, change the size of the text to 24 and make it bold. Yeah, so it should look something like this. We'll do the formulas later. Let's go back to the dashboard example. Next, we're going to do this area. This area has 1 rectangle and 2 squares from 7 all the way to row 18. So we'll do the same thing. 6 is blank, 7 to 18. We need an outline for the rectangle, and these are the squares. So select the entire area and add the outline around the squares. And of course, we're going to add an outline around the header area for the rectangle and the square. This is going to be headers for our graphs. We can merge these header areas for all of them. All right, go ahead and add whatever colors you want. I will be adding colors, of course, from my color palette. All right, this part is done. Now let's work on this area right here, because this has a drop down and this has a header and like subheader. Let's do that next. We'll start with this one with a drop down. This drop down here is from the setup tab, the status. Okay, so that's what we're going to do first. We're going to unmerge this, okay, because the drop down is going to go here. So just these two needs to be merged, and go to insert, drop down, change it to drop down from range, go to our setup tab, and it's the status. So select this one and change the options from chip to arrow, because it defaults to chip. We're going to change it to arrow, so it looks like this. And I'm going to change the color so it's clear that there is a drop down here. Right, add a border around it. Next, we're going to select this area right here, because right here is where the column heading is going to go. Select these 2 areas, add the border, and add horizontal border. but I don't want this harsh border color, so change it to the lighter one and this dotted line. And now this is what it looks like while they're both selected. Add a background color. Right here, this is where the column header is going to go for each of them. Back here, I'm going to copy these because these are labels. So we're copying these. This is lead source analysis and this is lead owner performance. So go here, lead source analysis, all right, and lead owner performance. All right, and I'm just going to paste values only for the column headers. And I think I had them bold, so I'll put the bold here as well. Back to our example, we have 4 squares here, which are identical. So leave 19 blank. We'll start from 20 all the way down to 31. Put an outline around that. All right, and don't forget the header area. Merge the cells and then apply colors. You can also merge this area right here. And because the rest of them are identical, I will use the paint format to speed things up. Select both the paint formats. There we go. All right, so we're done with the general structure. So now we can move to the next step, which would be to add our formulas and add the graphs. And when we add the graphs, we'll add the labels here as well. Back to our checklist. We have completed this step, so cross this off. Next, we'll add the dashboard formulas. Okay, let's go to the example first and take a look at the formulas we have. We'll start with the ones at the top. So the first one is to calculate the total number of leads. It's an easy count A formula, and it's just counting the number of leads in the table. Column B has the number, so it's going based on the number here. So if you're not going to be using a number column, you can go ahead and use any of these columns as a count for your lead. So the lead contact name could be a count, assuming that every time you add a lead contact name, that's a new lead. I'm using column B in this example. So going back to the dashboard here, just copy this formula. All right, we're going to make one change. So paste it here. And before I hit enter, lead database, it's referencing our original example. We wanted to reference this tab, which is the lead database 2. So add 2. So now it's referencing lead database 2. Everything else should be the same though. When we hit enter, it says 10 leads. And if we go back to our database, it is 10. Let's remove some of them. Now it should say 5. All right, so the next formula, make this bigger. I'm going to use this opportunity to say that if you are a paid Patreon member, you will have access to this template that we're creating today. Thank you very much, my current Patreon subscribers. So let's continue. This is another count formula. What it's doing is counting converted leads. It's using closed won as a converted lead. So if you're not going to be using closed won, you're going to be using something else in your dropdown. You're going to need to type that verbiage here, that word right here. All you need to do is delete this and type in whatever you're using. So I'm going to copy this. All right. For converted leads, we're using closed won as the leads that have been converted to our dashboard. Paste it here. Before we hit enter, add 2 to make sure that it's highlighting this database. We have 5 converted leads. Let's go to our database. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So let's change this to new. So it should say 3 here. All right. The formula works the way it's supposed to. Let's continue. The next one is the conversion rate. It's dividing this number by this number. Okay, so the conversion rate here is 50% because it's 5 divided by 10. Okay, so back here, we're going to do the exact same thing. Equals this divided by this number. And now we have 0.3. Change this format to percent. Up here, format as percent. Click on that and decrease the decimal place to how many decimal places you want displayed. Okay, so we have 30% conversion rate. And the last formula is the lead value. So if we go back to our database, each lead has a perceived value right here, lead value. And that's what we're measuring. We want to add up the values for all the closed leads. Let's take a look at this formula. It's a filter sum formula, and it's first going to filter out the values that have been assigned closed won, and then it's going to look at the amount assigned to those values and add them up. All right, so M contains the status and L contains the amount. Go back to our database so you can see L contains the amount and M contains the status. All right, so that's what the formula is doing. So we can copy that, go back to our dashboard. We're going to paste it right here and change it to lead database 2. So it's referencing our template, right? And hit enter. If you're not using close one to the notes that has been converted, make sure that you are changing close one to the specific verbiage you're using. We don't need to view the grid lines. I'm going to take that off right now. So far, so good. Let's go back to the example to see what we need to do next. The next area for formulas would be this area and this area. So we have a formula here and another one here. Actually, we need to remove the column headers here. We don't need them because the column headers are embedded in the formula. If we go back here, what the formula does, then it pulls the source, counts the number of leads. So we have 3 and 7, and then the conversion rate. Just to make it crystal clear, let's go back to our lead database. For all of our websites, I'm going to mark it as closed won because what that's going to do is assign the conversion rate to 100. Let's mark this as closed won. That means that for every time Our lead source was website. The status turned out to be closed won. That means the conversion rate should be 100. So if we go to the dashboard, that's exactly what it is. So now we're going to just copy this formula. It's really long, so go ahead and pause the video. I'll make this bigger so it's easier to see. I will also include a formula on the screen so it's easier to copy. All right. And then before I copy this, I do want to point out the label for each column. So you see lead source, that's the first label. Total leads, that's the second one. And conversion rates is the third one. So if you want to use different words here, all you need to do is change the word here. Do not remove the single quotes. Just change the word inside this quotes area, and that will change the label. All right, so let's copy this, go to our example. We've removed the headers because we don't need them here. It's embedded in the formula, so we're going to paste. If we hit enter now, it's pulling the information from the lead database, which is not what we want. We wanted to pull it from our sheet. Before I correct the formula, change this to a percentage and do 1 decimal place. All right, so now I can go back here and change the formula. This is going to be lead database 2, one more. All right, and hit enter. So the websites, we have 3 and the conversion rate is 33%. It means 1 out of these 3 leads from the websites is marked closed won. So go back here. We'll have our 3 websites here, and you can see 1 out of 3 has a status of closed won. If we change another one to closed won, now it should be 66%, 2 out of 3, which is exactly what shows up here. So this formula works the way it's supposed to. Now let's go back to our example and let's move on to the next formula for this table right here. Before we examine the formula, let's see what the table represents. The first column would be the lead owner, so the name of the person that's been assigned that lead, that brought that lead in, the number of leads that they have brought in, the amount, okay? And then you can filter by the status. So right now it's closed won. So you can see that Jane Smith has 3 leads and has the highest lead amount. We can change the status to new. All right, there's nothing for new for anyone. So let's change this to in progress. So we have 2 in progress. And you can verify this, by the way. If we go back to the database and let's filter by status, clear, and let's do in progress. We should have these 3. And if we go to the dashboard, we have 1, 2, 3. All right, so let's copy this formula. Open it up, copy. Same as the other one. If you want to change the column labels, here's the first one, here's the second one, here's the third one. You're going to change the text inside of the single quotes. Back here, we're going to paste it right here. Okay, before we hit enter, change the name of the tab, lead database 2, lead database 2. So there are 4 different names here. Make sure to change it all 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and here's the last one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Just double check to make sure we're not missing anything and hit enter. All right, so now we have our table and this is going to be a currency section. So go ahead and select the entire area and add your currency. I'm using the US dollar. Select whatever currency works for what you are creating. All right, so for close one, we have 4 leads for Emily and for Jane. So let's go back to our database. Let's filter by closed won. So clear, close one. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 for Jane and Emily. And so the formula works the way it's supposed to. All right. So that's done. I think we're down to almost the last step here. So we're going to check this off because we've added the formulas. I already talked about my Patreon, so I'm going to check this off and we just need to add the graphs and we're done. Okay, so now you can decide what graphs you want to add. You have this square sections for pie charts or smaller bar graphs. And then here, of course, works best for a longer graph. So depending on the type of information you want displayed, you can decide what to use where. So let's go to our example. Here we'll start with industry, and then I did not add the headers here intentionally. So as you can see, they're blank because what I did is that I referenced them directly from our table. And this makes it easier in case you decide to change your mind. So right now it says industry, it's referencing this cell. So if I change this cell to category, right? When I go back here, the graph changes to category. So I don't have to change it twice if I decide to change my mind. We'll do the same thing for this. For our dashboard, first we'll add the label, go to our database, industry, enter. And then next we're going to add the graph here. To do this, click on insert charts, and we do want the column chart, which has been selected, so that's fine. Now we're going to select the data range. Click on select data range, go to our database, select industry. I'm only selecting a few so I can remove the last row number and it selects everything and hit OK. We're going to need to check aggregate and it adds up the amount for each one. And what I'm going to do is customize it further by removing the background and the border because we already have a section for the graph. We don't need additional colors or backgrounds. Again, you can use it if you want to. It's based on your style and what you want displayed. Right now, it's assigning the same color to all of them. You can change that. So we'll leave this one, this color, start with the next one. Double click to open up the settings and then just click on the next bar and you can change the color. So change it to this green. Click on the next one, change that color. Okay, you're just doing them individually. Let's do the next graph. This is going to be a chart. So we'll do equals, go back to our database, and we'll start from here. We'll do contact method first. All right. And then add the chart for contact method. Insert charts. We're going to use pie charts. So select pie charts. Now we can select the range, back to our database, select the range, okay, enter, aggregate. And here's what it looks like. We can make additional changes though, remove the background color, the border. I like to change the legend when I have a square space, because if I try to push this in here, I'll show you what happens. This legend style doesn't work for this type of space. See how it's cut off? Doesn't work. But if you're using it for space like this, so if this was up here, it would work. So we're going to move it into its own space. So just make sure it fits. Change the legend to left. All right. And it looks like this. So now we can repeat the steps for the rest of them. Before I add the label here, I'm going to copy this chart and paste it here. I'm just going to paste it for all of them. So all I need to do is change the range. So let's do the next one. Equals, back here, lead source. Okay, now we can go here, edit chart, and just change the range here and select the range for lead source. Okay, remove 17, hit OK. And now you can see it shows you the chart for lead source. Let's do the next one. Equals, status, enter. All right, change it to the range for status. Another way to adjust the range would be to just change the column letter. So right now it's I. We can change this to M, and it will select the status column right here. So click that, and now we have our status. And then the last one, priority, enter, and then edit chart. Change this from I to N, hit OK, and now we have our priority. So we have all our charts done. If you don't want industry shown up here, let's say you want it to display lead owner, you could do the same here. So instead of industry, you can do lead owner, assigned, and then change this edit chart. So instead of K, we're going to change it to O. All right, and that is this column right here. And click O, and then here's what it looks like. You can decide what you want displayed, right? It's really up to you. And let's go to our example just to make sure we're not missing anything. All right, so it looks like we've gotten everything. And we can go back to our checklist and call it done. All right, so that's the end of this tutorial. Remember, this is part of a series, which I will leave a link to the playlist with the series, and you can check it out. And I also want to take this opportunity to ask for your feedback, number one. So if you have questions, feedback, comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Also, if you know someone that will find this video helpful, please share it because it helps me a lot. And if you have other ideas for this dashboard series, because I'm going to be creating many of them because everyone has a different use case. I'm going to be targeting personal use, small businesses, specific job positions, so like managers, supervisors, things like that. If you have a database with information like this, and you want that information to be converted into something that makes sense like this, let me know. So you can send me an idea and I can come up with generic database numbers and create a dashboard. Or you can send me your database. You can also remove any confidential information and I can use that to create a video with a dashboard. So hopefully that will be helpful for you and it will be helpful for other people that are in a similar position. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.